Smaug. Just say the name, right? It immediately brings up these images of fire and ruin and a whole mountain just stuffed with gold. He is, without a doubt, the most famous dragon of the Third Age, and he's infamous for what he did to the Dwarven kingdom of Erebor. I mean, even Tolkien himself called Smaug the Chiefest of Calamities. That tells you everything. This wasn't just some beast, he was a literal force of nature, and maybe the last of the truly great dragons to ever plague Middle-earth. His story, it's all about incredible power, insatiable greed, and of course, a truly spectacular downfall. But that really begs the question, doesn't it? Where did a monster like this even come from? I mean, dragons like Smaug, they don't just pop into existence. His story, his very origin, is actually tied to a much, much older conflict, one that a lot of people have forgotten about. So, yeah, let's get into it. Okay, so to really get a handle on Smaug, we've got to rewind. And I mean way back. We're talking about a brutal war that was fought up in the icy northern mountains. This single conflict is what sets the entire stage for everything that happens later at the Lonely Mountain. Alright, so this timeline, it looks like a lot of dates, but what it's really showing us is this almost 600-year-long story of how the Dwarves and Dragons came to hate each other. It all kicks off when the Dwarves get booted out of Moria by a Balrog, so they go and found Erebor, but then they get greedy, hear about riches in the Grey Mountains, and move again. Big mistake. See, up there in the north, the dragons had been, well, busy. They were multiplying. By 2570, it's all-out war. It goes on for nearly 20 years until a great dragon kills their king, Dain I. And just like that, the Dwarven kingdom in the north is completely shattered. And here's a super interesting little detail about that war. The dragon that actually killed King Dain, it's noted as a cold drake. Now, what's a cold drake? Well, it's a dragon that can't breathe fire. Think about that. Even without their number one weapon, these things were still powerful enough to kill a Dwarven king and win a war. Smaug, on the other hand, he was a fire drake, which puts him on a whole other level of terrifying. So, after that complete disaster up north, the survivors had to go somewhere. They're led by Thrar, and yes, that name should ring a bell. He's Thorin Oakenshield's grandfather. He leads his people back to the one place they know they can defend, the Lonely Mountain. They refound the kingdom of Erebor, and honestly, for a good long while, things were great. They found peace, and they became incredibly, incredibly wealthy. This leads to a big question. Was Smaug actually one of those dragons from the war in the Grey Mountains? Probably not. We hear from Gandalf, and even from Smaug himself, that he was considered pretty young when he showed up at Erebor. The war ended way back in 2589, and Smaug's attack wasn't until 2770. So, yeah, it's very likely he wasn't even born yet, or he was just a little whelp. He wasn't some old veteran. He was a new, terrifying problem, drawn south by all the whispers of Erebor's legendary treasure. And that brings us to the main event, doesn't it? For about 180 years, the Dwarves in Erebor just thrived. Their kingdom became ridiculously wealthy, the stuff of legend, really. The problem with legends, especially legends about gold, is that they travel. And these stories traveled far enough north to reach the ears of a brand new, absolutely terrifying power. Smaug's attack wasn't just destructive, it was brutally efficient. He came down from the north like a hurricane, Tolkien says. He set the forests on fire, scorched the land. The dwarves barely knew what hit them. The warriors that came charging out of the front gate instantly incinerated. Then he just casually turned his attention to the nearby town of Dale and completely wiped it off the map. Only after all that destruction did he finally enter the mountain, kill or drive out whoever was left, and make that massive pile of gold his own. But not everyone died that day. The king, Thror, his son Thrain, and a very young Thorin Oakenshield, they made it out. They slipped through a secret side door just in the nick of time. And that one moment, that one desperate escape, is the seed that eventually grows into the entire story of The Hobbit all those years later. So, with the mountain conquered, what does Smaug do? He gathers all that treasure into one massive pile, lies down on top of it, and goes to sleep. He becomes this terrifying legend, and the whole area around the mountain gets a new name, the Desolation of Smaug. But, legends don't always stay asleep forever. And he slept for a long time. We're talking 171 years. For almost 2 centuries, he just laid there, soaking in his own power and malice, and letting all of that evil seep into every single coin, every gem in that hoard. And this part is absolutely crucial, because that long, long time creates something else. A curse. You know, this quote from Tolkien just nails the mindset of a dragon perfectly. They don't care about spending the wealth. They don't have any use for it. They just need to possess it. Smaug's connection to his hoard was so intense, so total, that when little Bilbo Baggins sneaks in and takes just one cup, a single two-handled cup, Smaug knows instantly. He wakes up in an absolute rage because he knows down to the last ounce that something is gone. And after centuries of sleep, Smaug's end comes so fast. He's furious, right? So he flies out to destroy Lake Town, thinking they're the ones who helped the burglar, but he missed something. Bilbo had spotted a weakness, a tiny bare patch on Smaug's belly where a scale had come loose. And get this, a little thrush overheard the dwarves talking about it. That bird flies straight to Bard the bowman, who happens to be a direct descendant of the Lord of Dale that Smaug killed, and tells him the secret. Bard takes his family's special black arrow, aims for that one spot, and lets it fly. And boom! Just like that, the greatest dragon of the Third Age, the chiefest of calamities, comes crashing down out of the sky in a ball of fire and smashes right into the long lake. The tyrant is dead. But here's the thing. Even with Smaug dead, his evil didn't just disappear. Not at all. That treasure, the hoard he slept on for 171 years, it was tainted. It carried a powerful, nasty curse, something known as dragon sickness. So what exactly is dragon sickness? Well, you can think of it as this all-consuming paranoid greed. It just infects anyone who tries to claim a dragon's hoard. It'll turn the best of friends into bitter enemies, and it can twist a noble hero into a selfish, gold-mad tyrant. The treasure itself is literally sick. And we have seen this happen again and again in Middle-earth's history. Way before Smaug, a guy named Fram killed a dragon called Scatha, but he refused to share the loot with the dwarves, and they killed him for it. Then you have Thorin Oakenshield. He gets his mountain back, but the sickness hits him hard. He won't share a single coin with his allies, and that's what triggers the whole Battle of Five Armies. Even the slimy master of Lake Town. He's given gold to help his people rebuild, but he just steals it, runs off, and dies of starvation out in the wild. This curse is no joke. It's real, and it is absolutely dead. As for Smaug himself, his final resting place was the bottom of the Long Lake. For years, his enormous skeleton just sat there on the lakebed, a grim warning to everyone. They say that the priceless gems from his hide, his diamond waistcoat, still glittered down there in the dark water. But nobody ever dared to go diving for them. Even in death, the fear of Smaug was that powerful. So, does Smaug's death mean that all the dragons were gone for good? Well, not quite. Years later, Gandalf tells Frodo something very interesting. He says there are no dragons left alive who have the ancient fire hot enough to melt a ring of power. Now think about what that implies. The great fire drakes, the really powerful ones like Smaug, yeah, they're probably gone. But what about lesser dragons? Could they still be out there, hiding in some cold, forgotten corner of the world? That is a pretty chilling thought to leave you with.